Hey guys, and welcome back to Battlefront Updates. The Battlefront hype is real right now, and I'm not just exaggerating this for the sake of making a video, but I've not seen this kind of movement around Battlefront, well, since the game was active. It's actually insane. It's spreading across all social media, the player numbers are skyrocketing, and everyone is calling for a Battlefront 3. There's even actors from Andor who is calling for a Battlefront 3. That's how far this movement has reached within just a couple of days. And I wanted to go over all the details in this video, as well as share with you some inside information that I have both on the actual player numbers and some of the stuff that you might have heard before in regards to how realistic Battlefront 3 actually is and what they did have planned for this project before EA shut it down. So first of all, what is happening with this hype? In terms of just the Battlefront 2 numbers, a reliable source that I 100% trust, and I can say that these numbers are legit, but I just can't share where they're from, said that after May 4th, the numbers peaked to over 100,000 concurrent players, which is probably millions a week, because keep in mind that concurrent means that's how many people who played at one given point. And then if you combine that with how many people have played over 24 hours and then over a week, we're probably talking millions. After that, it's settled around 70 to 80,000 concurrent, but as of last night, and I'm not really sure what happened, I noticed comments all over TikTok calling for a Battlefront 3. I made a couple of tweets with the player numbers and such, which absolutely exploded on Twitter, something I haven't seen for a while. It seems like it spread everywhere, because after that I got a report that the player numbers peaked at 160,000 last night across all platforms, which is a 104% increase from the night before, and was also the highest peak for almost 5 years. And today it's also up 25%, which means that I don't know where this is gonna end. We might be able to reach some actual record numbers for this game despite not getting an update for 5 years. And even though I can't show you official numbers other than trust me bro, but as many of you guys know, I've always had reliable contacts when it comes to Battlefront, you can still look at the Steam charts and see that the game is peaking higher and higher every single day. And if that's not enough, check out the PlayStation 4 sales of this week. Battlefront 2 is the third best-selling game of this week. So people are still buying this game 5 years after the support was ended. But that's just scratching the surface. That's just how many people who are playing Battlefront 2 right now. But the actual movement out on social media is calling for a Battlefront 3. And this is not just coming from a lot of us fans, but from official accounts. For instance, Mohanad Ben Amor, sorry if I pronounced his name wrong, who plays Wilman in Andor Season 2, posted the following on his Instagram stories: "Star Wars gotta give us Battlefront 3 ASAP." So the fact that it's reached this far, even the official actors in Star Wars are calling for a Battlefront 3, shows how big this is getting. And just to mention a few other official accounts, the Firefox account posted on the official Star Wars account about wanting a Battlefront 3. And just to also mention, if you go into pretty much any Star Wars post right now, 90% of the comments will be about Battlefront 3. There's a root beer company out on TikTok supporting Battlefront 3, and one of the biggest electric retailers in the UK posted this Battlefront 3 TikTok, even showing a customized Switch case saying Battlefront 3 support the cause. So this is not just something closed in the Battlefront community, but this is reaching really far right now. I think it started out on TikTok. I'm not really sure what triggered it, but there are some really big channels out there like Daily Mail Gaming and Jacob Weeby, who has millions of followers who have posted about Battlefront 3. And again, I'm just scratching the surface right now, and I'm sure there's probably hundreds if not thousands of posts that I've missed before making this video, but I wanted to just bring the big ones I could see to kind of get my point across. And keep in mind that this is kind of just the start of this movement. I'm not really sure exactly, like I said, where it started, but obviously there was this normal Star Wars gaming spike that happens after May 4th combined with Andor, and it's only the last 24 hours that the actual play base have really skyrocketed with like 100%, and all the official accounts are out, so within a week who knows where we will be at. But as always with a movement like this, I'm sure it's gonna peak out in a couple of days or weeks, to then die down. But the goal here is to make as much noise as possible and hopefully get some type of official statement from Star Wars or EA. Not that I'm super optimistic about that, but it's completely stupid of them to not capitalize on this. Do they not see how much people wanted Battlefront 3? And yes, Battlefront 2 was made by EA, but a Battlefront 3 could be done with another company at this point, which is something I wanted to kind of bring back to here. Some of the information that I've shared with my loyal viewers before about what actually happened with Battlefront 2 and 3 and why we didn't get a continuation. Because trust me, the people who turned around Battlefront 2 from the really bad launch to the fantastic game we ended up with, they wanted to continue. They were open to both continuing Battlefront 2 and to actually making a Battlefront 3. I've heard numerous versions of the plans they had for Battlefront 2 to actually kind of remake the game to make it work on the newer platforms, to be more compatible with a long-term plan, and to have basically like annual expansions for the game to keep it alive. And if that wasn't possible, they would have instead wanted to make a Battlefront 3 and kind of start from the scratch and learn from the first two games on how to properly release a Battlefront game and then keep it alive post-launch with ideas like space to ground and, you know, all those kind of stuff that people would have absolutely loved. So why didn't they get to do it? Because EA and DICE said no. That's the sad reality. The team that worked on the Battlefront 2 post-launch, as you probably know, was some of the, I would say, best development teams that have ever worked on the games. And I'm not just biased here, but everyone I talked to who worked in that team said it functioned so well. It wasn't a very big team, but they still made wonders for the game. They worked really well together and they made the fans very happy. And Dennis, who was the lead design director on the entire franchise, who both pitched these Battlefront 2 plans and the Battlefront 3 plans, did everything he could to keep this franchise alive. When Battlefront 2 was cancelled, he still continued to work at DICE for months and months, trying to pitch and plan a Battlefront 3, which I know he actually said in one of my streams on the early tests looked really promising. In terms of tests, just to be clear, they didn't actually develop Battlefront 3. They just had like, you kind of pitch an idea of how you think the game is gonna be to a blank audience who then reacts to, do you think this is good? Do you think this is bad? And those kind of tests, I'm not a game developer, so I don't know exactly how it works, but those kind of tests rated extremely high in terms of how interested those players were in the game. Yet, EA said no, DICE said no. I don't know exactly how much the decision was DICE and EA, but I honestly think it was a lot. DICE said no, fuck Battlefront, we're just gonna make Battlefield instead. And actually, after all of that and most people left, Dennis was asked on my stream, why did you leave DICE? And he straight up said, because they wouldn't let me do Battlefront 3. You're not gonna get a more clear answer than that. That's the reason to why he and so many of those core developers left DICE. So if we were to get a Battlefront 3 again at some point, I don't think it's going to be from DICE. I don't think it's going to be from EA. At least the core pillars of that development team, they all left after this. Some of them worked a little bit on Battlefield, but most of them left DICE and EA. And Dennis actually started his own studio that has a lot of the old Battlefront 2 devs. They're working on RPG games completely different from Battlefront, but I don't think they're ever coming back to the franchise, unfortunately. But just to be clear, just because they made a fantastic job with Battlefront 2 doesn't mean someone else can't do it. But it's always risky when someone who don't know what they're doing tries to touch a franchise as fondly liked as Battlefront. They could screw it up badly. So if they were to make another Battlefront game, it would have been good to have someone who really knows how to not screw up a game like Battlefront. But that's simply the reality of it right now. Just to be clear, there's still, as far as I know, a couple of developers who worked on Battlefront 2 who works at DICE, so I'm not saying it's completely impossible, but with their focus on the new Battlefield game and with EA just cancelling Star Wars game after Star Wars game, I've got the feeling that if we were to get a new Battlefront game, it probably would not be from EA. And as long as it's done well, I'm completely fine with that. But that's just the situation, how it was when Battlefront 2 was cancelled, and the situation we're at right now. All we can do is keep this Battlefront 3 hype train moving, and I'm sure something has to come out of it. They can't just ignore millions and millions of people, and they have to see the demand for a multiplayer Star Wars game. Anyways, I really appreciate you if you watched it all the way to the end. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I'm gonna keep you guys up to date with everything that's happening surrounding to this entire Battlefront 3 campaign and Battlefront 2 comeback the best that I can. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.
What?